Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I want to say hello and thank you. And yeah, thank you for joining me. My name is DJ LP and I am live on Passion Radio. Yes, I am. Now, whatever time it is that you are listening to this broadcast, it doesn't really matter. The subject today is timeless. It really doesn't matter when you're hearing this message, when you're hearing this show. What matters is that you find it when you need it. So, first of all, I just want to say thank you to Passion Radio's management who have allowed me to have this slot every Monday to talk to you about the topic, the subject, that thing that in reality, nobody wants to talk about. But you know what? As I've just said, now is the time. So I am known on Passion Radio as DJ LP. However, in my real life, in my other life, I am Laura D. Pusey, death care practitioner. Yes, I said it. I'm going live. That's what I am. I am a death care practitioner, and I am here to talk to you all today about dying, death, and grief. First of all, though, before I do so, I'm just going to introduce the work that I do. So today in this show, I'm just going to talk about my work through D.I.P.ism, which is my business, Death in Practice, and my work through FACFO. Both businesses have been founded by me. They are both my babies. And yeah, they're here for you. They are both here for communities. D.I.P.ism is for everybody. Death is universal. It affects us all, no matter who we are. It's the only thing that we can know is truly guaranteed. They say that and taxes are guaranteed. Death is the one thing that we can't avoid. And trust me, I know many people out there are looking to avoid the taxes. So, as I was saying, D.I.P.ism is my business, Death in Practice, and I am a death care practitioner. So you may be thinking to yourself, what is a death care practitioner? I've never heard of one of those before. No, of course you haven't, because I've just made it up. That's what I am. We can make our own titles. We can sing our own blessings, and we can actually make changes through positive working conversation and truth. And that's basically what I'm here to do. So D.I.P.ism stands for Death in Practice. And I founded this business in 2020 officially. However, I've been a practitioner. Let me not say all my life, but I'm going to say, I suppose, since about 2015, when my aunt passed away. What I do is I work with people, I work with individuals and their family members from the moment they receive a terminal diagnosis. In truth, let's work from a lot earlier than then, because often when we get to that point, it's a huge panic. We don't know what to do. We are not prepared and we don't know what comes next. So that's where somebody like me comes in and I help. I work with the family. I work with the individual to help them to plan and prepare for their end of life transition. Now, obviously, we don't know when we're going to die. None of us do. Maybe that's the beauty of life, that encourages us to live as much as we possibly can before that time comes. But planning in advance reduces stress, not only for yourself, but also for your family members and your friends too. Because let's face it, oftentimes our friends are our family. So I help to arrange funerals and I am a funeral celebrant. I'll start at the beginning and I'll explain what all of these different titles are. As a death care practitioner, I can be there with you and your family members when that transition is made. I can also accompany you to consultants' appointments and help with advice and guidance every step of the way. I provide non-medical care and support and guidance for anybody who is involved in any part of the death and grief industry. I know it's not a subject that we want to talk about. It's not a subject that any of us want to be involved in. But you know what? From the moment we are born, we are involved. So, as a funeral celebrant, I conduct funerals, and that means that I attend funerals, and I am the one who stands on that stage or platform where maybe you'd rather have a priest or a vicar in the past. I am doing that work because I offer person-centered person-centered services. That means that if you don't want a religious ceremony, that's fine. Let's talk about the person who's really passed away and let's celebrate their lives. Let's come together and really honor the life that was lived. Because you know what? Every life, whether it has touched you negatively or positively, has had an experience for our highest good. It doesn't sound like that, and it doesn't always feel like that. But once somebody has passed away, we can actually look back on their lives and see what they have brought to our lives, or what experiences we never want to have again, what patterns and behaviors that we do not want to pass down to the next generations, and how we can live our lives better. So when it comes to death and grief, we also have to factor in the spiritual aspects. Yes, death is a very spiritual thing. Death is one of those subjects that, because we don't want to talk about it, then we don't often want to address the spiritual part of our lives. But again, in truth, we are all spirit. We are here having a human existence. And having that human existence means that one day we will lay our bodies aside and go on to our next existence. Regardless of what you believe, there is always going to be some kind of ambiguity around what happens next. And that often causes us to feel fear. It often causes us to feel anxiety and, quite simply, misery. We don't want to think about it. We don't want to talk about it. Why do I talk about it? Why am I so immersed in this industry, in this institution, in this spiritual phenomena? Well, from childhood, I've always been interested in death. What is it? What do you mean they've died? Where have they gone? What does this mean? Where are they? I followed a child that passed away at birth, and my mother and father never had any kind of support for their grief. My mother was a nurse, and she used to work with people who were experiencing cancer. So when she would come home from work in the morning, I'd be sitting there with my Rice Krispies and I'd be like, did anybody die last night? And my mum would say no. She would talk me through the process. She wouldn't just say no, she'd say something else afterwards. But she would then talk me through the process of what she did, how work was for her. And it was something that I was just always fascinated by. Now, we had an experience as a family when a very, very dear and close family member and his son came to visit us one weekend. And I was always so excited when our cousins came to visit us. And sadly, my dad's cousin passed away outside our home. And again, it was like this feeling of, well, I don't know what's going on. Why isn't anybody talking about this? I know that the experience really affected my parents, but again, it was just business as usual. Why? Because we don't really talk to our children about death, although it's something that we need to do. Now, as I go on with my shows, I will be speaking more about how to talk to children about death, how to deal with it, how to approach it, and maybe also the necessity of it, because it is necessary. Death is all around us every single day. And we have the seasons. We're coming into spring now, but we have the summer, we have autumn, and then, of course, there will be winter where everything dies away to be rejuvenated again, back to spring. So one summer, it was actually around 2015 when my aunt passed away, and I got the call that she was nearing the end of life. And I went down to London and I spent time with her. I was fortunate enough to be able to stay with her through the night at the hospital. And I can tell you, I have had some interesting and exciting nights in my life, but none that I can talk about on radio. Um, the night that I spent with my aunt was hands down the most precious experience, the best night that I have ever had. The energy in that room was electric, and I just couldn't keep my eyes off my aunt. I was focused on her. I was locked on her, and her energy was soft. It was at peace. I don't know whether that makes sense to you, but again, as time goes on, we will break some stuff down and we'll really get into this whole death thing, because it does need to be spoken about and it really isn't morbid. And if by any chance you think that there's any kind of morbidity in it, I will chop it up and we'll bring some light into it. Okay. I've started today's show with Rosie Gaines, Closer Than Close, because we need to be getting closer. We need to be talking about subjects like this, because when a member of the family passes away, that is often when our families start to disintegrate. At times, there are truths, there are events, there are historic situations that were never discussed. And when that person passes away, so too have the opportunities for everybody else to heal. Again, as well, when a member of the family dies, there is often this kind of question mark over the money and the belongings. Who gets what? And who was most loved and who served more at that time and who is most deserving. Well, what I found when my aunt passed away was that although our family stayed very, very tight and very close during that time, I observed that there are not many people who look like me who are doing this work. I thought to myself, okay, so I've heard of a birth doula. There must be somebody at the other end. And if there's not, looks like I'm going to have to create it. Just as well, I didn't have to. I got in touch with an organization that trains people to be death doulas. Now, I personally do not use the word doula because in the Greek language, the word doula means slave. And I think that we have slaved enough. So I'm an end of life guide. And yes, I can be there with a person throughout the whole transition so that they move to the other side with ease and with a calmness in their heart, assured of where they're going and assured that they will be received. So going back to what I was saying about the time when my aunt passed away, I was thinking, where are the florists? Where are the florists that look like me? The African and Caribbean florists, where are they? Who's going to do the catering? Who's going to do the music for the reception afterwards? And I didn't really think much about the whole celebrant position, the celebrant role, until I got to the funeral. Now, if I remember correctly, we did use an African and Caribbean funeral director that was close by. But when the time came and we attended the actual funeral, the lady who was doing the service, she didn't look like us. She wasn't from our culture. She didn't have any understanding of my aunt or where she was coming from. There was no real feeling behind her words. I'm sure that she delivered a nice service, but to be honest, I can't remember it. And so that is the genesis of my journey to becoming a death care practitioner. And it's been a very interesting journey. I've been on many courses. As I've said, I became a death doula, and I also did a funeral celebrant course as well. So I trained to become the person who stands up and delivers the service or the celebration of life for the person who has passed away. What I found on those courses, though, is that they're not designed for people who look like me. They are not designed to consider our needs. They are not designed to think about our rituals or traditions and what is important to us as a people and as a community. I found that when I did try to get help with these courses through those that were providing the courses, they weren't interested in hearing what I had to say. Yes, of course, they placated me, but they had no intentions of making any kind of provision for other African or Caribbean people that may want to one day take the path that I have done in becoming a person who works in the industry of dying, death, and grief. There is so much information out there on the processes of dying and grief, and there is so much information out there that just isn't designed for us. So here I am, and I've created D.I.P.ism. I have courses, so I am able to train people up to be funeral celebrants. I am able to train people up to be end-of-life guides. And I also have access to people who are equally trained. But how do you find these people? Stick a pin in it. We'll come back to it. So, as a trained funeral celebrant, I then went around to the funeral directors in my area, bursting with energy, ready to do the work and saying, "Hi, I'm here. I'm Laura, and I'm now a funeral celebrant." And I was basically met with closed doors. The problem? I don't look like them, and I don't represent their business, their ethos, and so they tend to stick to people that they know they can rely on. So there's not much opportunity for people that look like me to perform funeral services, which is a real bummer because people like me are dying every day. So what I realized is that our death is ignored as an African and Caribbean community, as African and Caribbean people. Our death, our grief is ignored. Our emotional and mental state is not considered. And we struggle to find people that have an overstanding or even an understanding of our cultural needs. We've also forgotten what death means to us. It means a lot. Let's just take a brief step back to the Egyptian times. They really concentrated hard on getting death right. Look, they made the mummies, they've got so many rituals and traditions and ways and practices that they used to use back then that we have completely forgotten. It's all been changed up, and there is a power there. There is an energy there that we can tap into if only we can remember how to do it. So when it comes to grief, there is a rush for us to process this grief and suppress our emotions and get back to life, get back to work, get back to the family and our financial needs, get back on track and just forget about it, move on, get past it. But, I often say when I'm speaking to my clients, if you have known your mother for 30, 40, 50, 60 odd years plus, you can't just forget her overnight just like that. It's not something that you can say, all right, in 3 months' time, I'll be good, back to normal again. Life just doesn't work in that way. Unfortunately, it would be great if it did, but we have feelings, we have emotions, we have needs. And such emotions, when not addressed, will manifest as sickness because they stay within our body and they start to attack our organs, our insides. And before we know it, we're feeling sick. We could be sick emotionally. We can be sick mentally. We can be sick physically. And yes, we can be spiritually sick as well. All of this has an effect on our lives. It affects our mental life, our practical life, our social life, our family life. So we really do need to be thinking seriously about this whole death thing. In fact, we need to take away that sting and we need to look at it for what it really is. So, what really is death? And how can we adjust our lives to bring it into a closer focus so that when it visits us, we are more prepared. Now, during COVID, we were told, the African and Caribbean community especially, were told that we were dying at a disproportionate rate. And that had an effect on our elders, on our communities, and on us individually. There was a real fear of what may or may not happen. And yeah, that fear was justified because we have been programmed to fear what might come next. If you don't know what's over the wall, behind the door, or round the corner, then you are going to feel fear. It's natural. Unfortunately, what we have done is we've put aside our social and our emotional and our spiritual needs and feelings and concerns in order to satisfy other people, other communities, industries, and those kind of setups that are deemed to be normal life and living. In our bid for survival, we have tried to satisfy others so that we are not a problem, so that we're not in the way, and so that the system can flow as smoothly as possible. But that system is not set up for us. Let's go deeper. When someone we love dies, we experience more than the loss of the life of the loved one. We experience a change in identity. We experience a change in our family dynamics. We experience perhaps changes in our finances because it does have a financial impact. And we may also experience a change in status. That status and identity may lead us to ask, who am I now? Am I a mother still? Am I still a child? Am I still a husband? Am I still a wife? What does it mean to be a widow or an orphan? These are things that we don't have to consider in our day-to-day life. And we live our lives with our family members, with our friends, with our loved ones, never really considering the fact that maybe one day they won't be there. And so when that time comes, we can find ourselves experiencing a state of trauma, anguish, exasperation. We can experience ourselves thinking, what if I could do this? If only I could bring them back. How did this happen? How did I not see the signs? Why did this happen? And who might be next? This is really fearful for all of us. We all have this experience. We experience sorrow until we come to a point where we can readjust and move forward. It's a process that we all have to go through. Now, as you may be aware, I don't know if you're aware, you should be aware. Come on now. I've been on Passion for a few years now. I am from the African and Caribbean community, and I hail from a diaspora of people that were taken from the continent of Africa. And regardless of what island myself and my brothers and sisters were put on, we are all from that continent. For those descendants of that continent who were enslaved, The torment of ancestral abuse is carried through our bloodlines, is in our blood, just as with the Jews. Am I allowed to say that? No, am I allowed to say the word Jews? I think so. I've said it. The Jewish people, research has shown, and they have done the research to show that in the years that they suffered in the Holocaust, their ancestors suffered, they now experience enduring trauma reactions to situations that trigger them in this lifetime. If that's the case with them, how much more so could that be if we have experienced indeed the 400 years of enslavement and torture and the 200 plus years of colonialism that followed? But there's never been any healing for our cellular trauma, which is carried down through the DNA and reenacted in our behaviors. So let's add to that fact that ever since, we have been from our Caribbean islands or our African continent countries into the European countries, we have been deemed as second-class citizens. It's well documented. It's in the news. It's spoken about. It's out there. It's known. It's acknowledged. It's no secret that there is an issue with institutionalized racism. Our bodies are deemed less important, and we have been subjected to experimentation in the past, which has led us to have an inherent fear when it comes to dealing with those who are in authority. And when it comes to dying, death, and grief, we are not present. Our lives and our bodies are then in the hands of those that we deem to be the authority. The interesting thing about dying, death, and grief, dying from a non-medical position, death, and then grief, is that you don't actually have to be qualified. You don't have to be qualified. Anybody can become a funeral director. Anybody can become a funeral celebrant. Yes, I did the training, but I really actually didn't need to. And anybody can offer help and support when they know that somebody is grieving. What's happened is that we have been educated away from our feelings. We have been educated away from our truth. And because death is universal, this applies to every single person on earth. We have been educated away from death, regardless of what color you are. And I do also want to say as well that regardless of what color you are, regardless of your religious background, regardless of your age, your ability, your gender, we are all affected. We are all programmed to just not think about it, just sort of brush it away. We'll think about it tomorrow. There's got to be another time when we can talk about this. So I just want to say thank you for allowing me to talk about it today with you. And if you're still here, if you've stuck around, then equally, thank you. Thank you for being interested enough, because there's going to come a time when you may want to get in contact with me or somebody that I can put you into contact with in an area near you so that they can help you with the experience that you're having, either physically, personally, or with a member of your family or a friend. Now, what I've also done is trained as a hypnotherapist. When I trained as a hypnotherapist, I did so because I wanted to have a tummy tuck and I couldn't afford it. Yeah, let's be real. I was like, okay, what's going on here? How can I do this in the most pain-free way? And I can tell you, hypnotherapy does work. Okay, my stomach is there, but it's functional, it's functional, it works, and I'm very happy with it. But what I also realized is that when it came to dying, death, and grief, hypnotherapy has such a big effect, a big and positive effect on our grief. I also work with PRU's Bereavement Helpline. And I also have just finished a tenure with Mind, with their bereavement department. And, you know, we really need to have more people who look like me, us, doing this work. I've often said to the people at Cruise and the people at Mind that they reach their intended target audience very well. But when it comes to people from African and Caribbean backgrounds, we're not really, or they are not really able to reach them. Why? Because, as I said before, so many experiments have been done in the past on us, on our bodies, that we do not have a trust. And because of that lack of trust, and because of our elders and those that have gone before us, the fear that they've experienced, they've passed that down through the generations. And there's this kind of, I don't know, how can I put it? Teaching that you don't talk your business. You don't talk to people who don't look like you. You don't talk about what happens inside the house. You keep it to yourself. You don't even tell your friends. You just maintain this stiff upper lip and you keep it moving. Go out there and smile for the world and don't let them know that you are breaking down inside. And that's really sad because so many of our brothers and sisters are experiencing real pain and they feel unable to talk about it. So if those that are offering the support and guidance don't look like us, we're always going to be limited on the amount that we can talk to them about. So, D.I.P.ism, death in practice. I train people to be end-of-life guides. I can train people to be funeral celebrants, but I actually have a sister who has a course doing just that. So we'll not step on her toes, but what I will do is invite her onto the show in one of the coming weeks so that we can sit down and break down this role as a funeral celebrant. I also teach people how to become grief coaches, grief mentors, and those who support others through their grief, recognizing that our grief is not generic. It's not like everybody else's. Our grief is unique because we have within our bloodlines the grief still of those who have come before us. Oh my word, this is deep. Oh my word, this is deep. And so if we are classed as second-class citizens in the UK and European countries, and it is well documented that this is the case, then we are going to suffer more when it comes to our financial situation, to our emotional and our mental needs. That's not even to mention our religious or spiritual needs that are just not met. What can I say next? What I can say is that I can't be everywhere all at once. And so here I am on Passion Radio speaking to you now. I am based in Huddersfield, West Yorkshire. Yes, I do have a London accent and I am up and down the country regularly. Oh, so regularly. But I am also looking to have an actual base within Huddersfield where people can come and speak to me, where they can drop in and receive counselling, care, mentoring, coaching, get themselves back on their feet following the loss of a loved one. This is a subject that is really important and we really do need to address it now. Tomorrow is too late. And often I find that when I'm speaking to people, they say, you know what, I really could have done with you when this person died, when that person died, or okay, I need you to speak to a friend of mine, or I need you to come and work with myself and my family. I'm here. My name is Laura D. Pusey, and you can find me at www.D.I.P.ism.com. That's D.I.P.ism.com. D.I.P.ism. D.I.P. stands for death in practice. I.S.M. is an ism. It's a way of life. It's a thing. It happens, as does death. If you would like to get in contact with me at all, you can contact me on 07975 861089. I'll say that again. You can contact me on 07975 861089. And you can contact me on WhatsApp on that number, or on 07986 726 238. Now, as the weeks and months go on, and years perhaps as well, I will be doing this show from at this time. Actually, I won't tell you what time it is. I won't tell you what day it is. But what I will be doing, no, Mondays 2 till 4. You're quite welcome to join me over the radio. But then also I am recording this via Zoom. So if you want the Zoom link so that you can be part of the conversation, you can email me at Laura, Laura, Laura at D.I.P.ism.com. That's Laura at D.I.P.ism.com. I can send you the link and you can join me. Let's talk about this. Let's have a discussion. Let's get things moving. Yeah? Okay. Also, I will be posting the Zoom, which is recorded, to Facebook and to YouTube. And then I'll be editing it and putting it on TikTok and Instagram and also LinkedIn. So you can find me. I am trying to make myself as available and as visible as possible. Let's take the stigma out of death and let's make it more visible so that when it happens, we are not finding ourselves lacking, because that is the worst situation that we can possibly find ourselves in. Okay, so very soon we're going to be going to break, as is at the radio station, Passion Radio, which is where we are live broadcasting to you. What I'm going to do is just play us out with some music, and then I'll come back after the break and I'm going to talk about my business, FACFO, which is the Federation of African and Caribbean Funeral Operatives. FACFO is my second business. That is community-based. That is for you and everybody within the African and Caribbean communities. I'll be talking to you about why I started FACFO, the importance of FACFO, and the way that we intend to move forward as a people.
Your life is a beautiful tapestry that only you could live. Tell the story of your life in your own words and allow your loved ones the opportunity to speak confidently on your behalf so that you receive the care and comfort that you deserve at the end of your life. Introducing My Life's Tapestry, this essential workbook is also a gift for your future generations. Visit www.dipism.com for more information.
Yes. Thank you so much for joining me. You are listening to DJ LP on Passion Radio, and it is my absolute honor to be able to speak to you today about my work. Before we go into it, you know me as DJ LP, but out on the streets, those mean streets, I am Laura D. Pusey, and I am a death care practitioner. So, as a death care practitioner, what do I do? Well, in the first hour, I just explained my work through D.I.P.ism, which is my organization, it's my business. And it is through D.I.P.ism that I help people to come to terms with dying, death, and grief. And I educate people on the importance of being prepared for such occurrences. In truth, it's going to affect us all, and death is universal. I suppose the fact that it affects us all is what makes it universal. It's something that all of us are going to have to face at some point or another. And, I think we're quite lucky if we get through life without experiencing grief. It is a phenomena that we just don't understand. We don't understand what grief is. We don't understand why we grieve. Well, I suppose to an extent because we're missing those that we love. But also, when it comes to grief, we don't realize the effect that it has on our bodies. And so we need to be talking about this. I am grateful indeed to my family at Passion Radio, who have really encouraged me and pushed me to continue to talk about it, and who have now given me this slot so that we can have these conversations regularly, so that we can open up conversations and we can discuss our feelings, our emotions, and most importantly, our fears, so that we can put them to one side and deal with the situations of life as they arise. Now, if you want to contact me, you can do so on 07975 861089. That's 07975 861089. You can contact me by phoning me, you can contact me via text, and you can also use that number to contact me through WhatsApp as well. You can find me at www.D.I.P.ism.com. That's D.I.P.ism.com. D.I.P.ism, Death in Practice. You can also find me at FACFO.org. Yes, FACFO.org is my other organisation, and I'm just going to take the best part of this hour to tell you about it, tell you why I created it, and what the intention is of FACFO to help those of the African and Caribbean communities predominantly. Okay, so as I've said, death is universal. It affects us all. However, I am of the African and Caribbean community, and we are not as visible in the industry of death and grief for many, many reasons. And so the Federation of African and Caribbean Funeral Operatives is seeking to readdress that balance through the directory. Yes, we have a directory and so much more. So, why have we got a directory? Well, in 2015, when my aunt passed away, I was looking around to see who's doing this work. And I couldn't find those that I needed to be connected with. Where are the florists? Where are the funeral directors? Where are our caterers? Where are the DJs? Where are the funeral celebrants and the grief counsellors? Who can I refer members of my family and my friends to when they are experiencing death and grief and need some kind of direction, need some support, need some guidance, and somebody that they can rely on and trust to guide them through the process authentically? I'm not saying that we're not out there, because we actually are. And so the Federation of African and Caribbean Funeral Operatives seeks to put the spotlight on our brothers and sisters who are providing these services for our brothers and sisters when they are in need, up and down the country. I don't care where you are. If you are in any way connected to the funeral industry, if you are a therapist or in any way connected to anybody who provides support and guidance for those who are grieving, get yourselves onto the directory. It's free. I'm not charging anybody. This directory is free. It's self-funded. I am doing everything myself through FACFO. We've got enough people in the community. We've got enough people within this country to be able to pull together to ensure that our end of life, our funerals, our death, and our grief is actually handled in an authentic way that brings in our traditions and our rituals and our needs at that time. Whether it be drummers that you need, whether it be those people who sort of provide the flags or orders of service, whatever it is that we need, we've got people within our communities who are providing these services. So come over to www.facfo.org. Now, not only are we working with people within the UK and up and down the country to ensure that we have a blanket of support for everybody, we also are working with people abroad as well in our countries of the continent and also in America. As I've said, grief is universal, and African and Caribbean people are located all over the world. So if your loved one passes away and they would have liked to have, or you feel that they would have wanted to be laid to rest at home, come to FACFO, let us sort out the repatriation so that they can be met and welcomed home, so that you can all be welcomed home to lay the body of your loved one to rest. Oh my gosh, is this too deep? I'm wondering if this is too heavy. I think you can handle it. And I think you can handle it because now is the time for us to be talking about it. There is never, ever going to be a good time, the right time. But there's always going to be a late time if we don't discuss this from now. So if you have been listening to the show for the last however long, I want to say thank you. And let's just keep going. Let's just keep going. Ooh. Continuing this conversation and talking together as we take it apart, as we really look deeply into the aspects of dying, death, and grief that affect us all. Through the Federation of African and Caribbean Funeral Operatives, I have been working with a number of people who strive to make life better for our brothers and sisters and our loved ones. Even though the organisation is predominantly based within the African and Caribbean community, it doesn't mean that we are solely providing services for people that look like us. On the contrary, we are working with everybody because death is universal and our services are just as necessary, just as professional, just as important as anybody else who is providing the same service. The difference is that maybe we put a little bit of soul into it. We put a little bit of body into it. Come on now. You know that when we do things that little bit different. We do go that extra mile and we do make sure that everybody is catered to, that all needs are met. So within the directory, who do we have? We have funeral directors, of which we do have quite a few up and down the country. Now, if you go to the FACFO website, you'll see that quite a few of them are listed. Within FACFO, we have the ability to train people to be funeral directors. I don't know if you've looked into it. Maybe you have. You may see that it's really expensive or that there's actually not that much to it, but it's not easy to get into. We at FACFO can help you to start your business as a funeral director and help you to maintain your business, keeping and adhering to the standards that are dictated by those who are within the, I don't know, government boundaries, let's say. The thing about being a funeral director is that you don't actually have to be qualified. You don't need to have a whole heap of, degrees and qualifications. You don't even need to have a funeral home. But there are standards that need to be maintained so that we don't have rogue people going around storing bodies in lockups in the height of summer. Do you hear what I'm saying? You know, there are some people out there who are downright unscrupulous, and there are people as well out there who target members of the African and Caribbean community for their business, even though they're not interested in anything other than the money. We, as African and Caribbean people, often feel a sense of commitment to funeral directors because perhaps they buried my mum, buried my dad, buried my gran, cousin, aunts, uncles, sons, daughters. But do they really care about you, or are they looking for the money? We are those people, we are the demographic, we are the customers that spend the most on funerals. Why? Because predominantly we still bury. Cremating for us is a new way of looking at, saying goodbye to our loved ones, and it doesn't really sit well with us. But the cost of it is so much cheaper than burial. When you think about the burial, we have to consider how much it will be for the cost, for the plot. Where is our loved one going to go? And varies, prices vary. You have to pay to get the earth taken out of the ground, pay to get your loved one's body put into the ground, pay as well, yes, for that earth to be put back into the ground. And sometimes, even though we've paid, we backfill. Backfill is what we do, that's within our culture. And we do that. We backfill, we put the earth into the ground because we want to know that our loved ones are safely returned back to the ground. There are other reasons as well. And again, as the weeks and months and years draw on, I'm really hoping that, this is an inexhaustible subject. We will discuss it all. We will break it all down, and we will come to a greater knowledge of the reasons why we do what we do. And it won't just be me talking to you. I am going to be speaking to people throughout the industry who have the answers. I'm going to be speaking to our African spiritual brothers and sisters who can tell us about the spiritual side of dying, death, and grief, and how it affects us and our bodies as a people. There are so many of us out there who are doing the work in one way or another. And oftentimes, I don't think we actually realize what we're doing. When somebody dies, we all flock round, or rather, we used to flock round and make sure that there are preparations or funds in place for traditions such as Nine Night, which is now looking so much different to its original form. There are often, people who will say, you know what, I'll sort the flowers out for you. I'll sort out the order of service. And then we get on our computers and we do our little designs and everything. We knock up such beautiful artistry. Get yourself onto the directory. Not only is this a way of making more money for yourself, keeping money within the Black community, but it's also a way of getting yourself, a new business, an income, a side hustle. Where are our caterers? We need you. We need you on the directory so that we know who we can contact when that time comes. Okay. What else can I say without being distracted by messages that are coming through on the phone? We have funeral directors in our directory. We have funeral arrangers. I myself am a funeral arranger, which means that when somebody passes away, I am able to arrange the funeral from start to finish. This is what I do. This is my work. There are certain forms that need to be filled in. There are certain people that need to be contacted at that time. And, when it comes to the funeral, it really is you who is in charge. It's not the funeral director. If you have knowledge, if you have an understanding or an overstanding of what you can and can't do, then you can be more empowered to make those decisions that reflect the life of your loved one. It's as simple as that. You know, back in the day, we used to bring the casket or the coffin home overnight so that we could say our final farewells. That seems to be something that has gone beside the wayside, but we can do it still. You know, there are no rules. Whatever it is that you want, you can have it. What we need to do is prepare in advance. It is really that simple. So, funeral arrangers can guide you through the process and they can make sure that all of your needs are catered for. End of life guides, we have them in the directory. As I've said, that's what I am. I trained as a death doula. I do not go under that title because the word doula means slave in Greek. And I do believe I have slaved enough and I have enough of that energy within my DNA to be doing it anymore. We have people within our directory who are mediators, family mediators. Think about it. When a loved one dies, within our family. And you know what? This again is across the board because people of other backgrounds and cultures also experience a disintegration of the family when that elder, that linchpin, that person, that key member of our family passes away. It could be a child. It could be an adult. What I'm saying is that the family dynamic changes to a point where sometimes we just can't communicate. When sometimes we have expectations of others that are just not met. Is it their fault that they can't meet our expectations? Is it our fault that our expectations may be too high for others to meet? Oi, there's a lot in here that needs to be unpacked. So, yes, we have family mediators who can help to sit down with the family and just talk it out, plan in advance, and just make sure that those truths and those hidden secrets are brought out to light for healing. All families need healing. There is not a family on earth that hasn't experienced trauma and turmoil and abuse that hasn't been handed down through the generations. It's coming up now for us all to deal with in this lifetime. Sure, you can say, I'm not doing it, and you can die. But what is that scripture? I'm sure there's a scripture that says something along the lines of, the sins of the father will be handed down to the son. Do you really want for these traumas to carry on through the generations? Or is it about time that we start breaking these cycles so that we can create stronger generations as this world becomes more and more perilous? It's up to you. It really is. But the thing is, if we don't have a FACFO, then we don't have a point. We don't have a starting point. We don't have those connections and the help within the community. We also have bereavement therapists. We have counselors. We have supporters, mentors, and coaches. We need all of these people. Traditionally, as I've said before, we've been taught not to talk our business, to keep it to ourselves, to have this stiff upper lip, to just absorb our pain because big men don't cry, because we are strong Black women, you know, and this causes sickness to our bodies. Because we're not talking, those emotions and those energies are staying within our bodies. They are attacking our organs. We then trot off to the doctor. We are then medicated with chemicals that were not created for us, that also provide us with side effects that then shorten our lives and lead us to perhaps an early death, an early grave. when originally all we actually needed to do was talk about our pain, our emotion, our grief, our sufferation. And my gosh, when we talk, when we come together and open our mouths, we realize that everybody is suffering, that everybody is experiencing pain. And that oftentimes, although the experience is unique for everybody, the actual pain that we are feeling is the same. So we need to be talking about our grief. We need to be talking about those things that have happened in the past, and we need to be clearing them from our bloodlines. It's not just for us, it's for our future generations. And you know what as well? It's for our ancestors, because they can't rest. They can't rest until we do. So we also have in the directory our African traditional practitioners, those who know how to work with spirit, those who know how to help us to connect not only with those that have passed away, but with ourselves, to connect with the journey of our soul, to connect with our spirit, our authenticity, our power, and our truth. This can't be taught to us. There's nobody out there. There's no kind of school that we can go to be taught about ourselves and our bodies and how dynamic these computers are that we sit within. And that's the key word here, within. Everything that we need is within. And so we have our practitioners who can teach us how to go within and access our power, our ability, our strength. In order to do that, though, we need to clear a lot of jank within our bodies. Have you heard of chakras? We'll speak about those things in other weeks, days, and months to come. But, you know, there is so many spiritual aspects of ourselves. There are so many different aspects within us that are operating every single day, and we do not realize it. We do not acknowledge them because we don't know that they are there. So, little plug, I'm a hypnotherapist, and I work a lot with those parts within us, bringing them to the fore so that we can actually use these computers, these spaceships that we're sitting in, to the best, to the absolute best of our ability. That is the only way that we get true sovereignty and quality of life. We're not here for long, but when we're here, it is because we have work to do. So many people go to the grave without having done that work, and they get caught in the cycle of life and death. I'm not going to go that deep, not today, but there is a cycle. There is a cycle of life and death. And it's okay to be in that cycle, but guess what? You can choose something else for yourself too. Aha. Our morticians and embalmers are also there in the directory. Yes, we have top people. We have people in our directory that are actually based within the generic industry who are teaching others how to become funeral directors and how to become embalmers. We have them, people who look like us, who are doing the work outside, who only wish to do the work inside as well. Brothers and sisters, it is time to step forward and see what you can gain from FACFO. If you want a new career within an industry that is recession proof, look no further, say no more. Contact me 0797586. Hold on, let me say that again. 07975 861089, or you can contact FACFO itself on 0208 895 6485. That's 0208 895 6485. Your call will be answered and I will probably call you back. Okay, so also within the directory, we have ministers and officiants. So I am an officiant. I'm a funeral celebrant. We also have pastors and ministers that conduct funeral services, and that perhaps is what we're more used to. So a funeral celebrant will conduct a person-centered service, homegoing service, or what's the other expression? Homegoing service or celebration of life for your loved one. It focuses completely on the life that they have lived. If you want religion, if you want scriptures, if you want hymns added into that, we can do it however you want it. It's all good. But we also have our religious ministers and people who actually are trained to give religious guidance and advice from whichever denomination that you are based within. Now, when you look on the FACFO directory, you may not see somebody in your area. Don't worry. Just because they're not on the directory, it doesn't mean they're not in my phone book. Just remember, not everybody wants to be as out there, but contact me on 07975861089 and I will find somebody in your area that can help you. That is my promise to you. Okay, so vigil and aftercare. Vigiling is to be there when a person is making their transition. Somebody like me would come and be with you and your family members as that transition is being made. You know, when a loved one is dying, it can be such an eye-opener. It's something to behold. It is an experience that you really do need to witness. But sometimes it can be messy. Sometimes it can be smelly. Sometimes it can look downright awful. Okay. And I'm talking about the kind of death that somebody has when we know that they're about to pass away. But then there are those unfortunate situations when somebody has their life taken away from them, snatched, or they meet with an accident. You know, we are on hand to help, guide, and support during those times. And how can I say? We're ready. We're ready. We're living in a time where more and more people are leaving the earth. More and more people are laying their bodies aside. Some people are choosing the time that they go. Are they to be looked at and shunned and dealt with in a way? No. Love and compassion for everybody is what is needed. This is a deep subject, but it does need to be discussed. So if you're still with me, then I thank you for still being with me. If you're still with me and you want to talk to me, if you want to just ask any questions about dying, death or grief or the services that I provide, contact me on 07975861089. You can leave a message with 0208 895 6485, and the chances are it will be me that gets back to you. Why do I say that? Because I need more people to work with me. I can't do this on my own. And there is a lot. This is a subject that just keeps going. There is so much to do. And so I'm appealing for help. I am. If you want to be part of this, then contact me. You can contact us also through FACFO. So that's info@facfo.org. You can find us at www.facfo.org and you can contact us through the website. I'm waiting for you. I'm ready for you. And it's all good. When you're ready, I'll be there. So let's move forward. We also have service providers. So did you know that there are people within our community that actually make alcohol? They make beverages. They're making drinks. Like we have some of them on the directory and in the phone book. Okay, let's find our brothers and sisters and let's support our Black businesses as well. Caterers, we need you. We need more of you to be listed within the directory. You are so needed. I think most times, when somebody passes away, we kind of muddle together and get the food done amongst ourselves. We may know of somebody who knows of a caterer, or we may know a caterer. Please, if you know a caterer, please get them to contact me so that they can be found in the directory by those who need their services. On from that, we need to know where our DJs are. Who are our DJs close to us? Join the directory. Let us know where you are. Not only do you cater for funerals, if you do, you never know. You might get a wedding out of it. You might get a christening out of it. You might get a birthday out of it because we're loyal people. And if you've put on a fantastic show, then we're going to come back to you time and time again. So this is a really important website. This is a really important business. It's really important that as an organization, we are able to cater to the needs of everybody within our community. This is how we keep our pounds black. This is how we come together. Because when somebody we know passes away, we all fall into line. We know what to do. We know what we need. We know how to service our community. But there are some people within our community that do not have the access to you, to those who are providing that access, that support, that service, the advice, the guidance, So join the FACFO directory. Musicians, our choirs, our singers. If you're a funeral singer, if you're a wedding singer, come join the directory. Those that are providing also repatriation services are found through the directory and through our funeral directors. So what you can do is contact one of the directors on the website and they will be able to give you more information. If you are still lacking, contact me. Okay, on from that, our speakers, our spoken worders, our poets, our orators, our griots. We need you. I do believe that the original griots used to talk about a person's life. They were the holders of tradition. They were the holders of the family history. And they would repeat those stories throughout the generations, which kept the link through the ancestral line, through the bloodline strong. We knew where we were coming from when we had our griots. Let's connect. If you know people who are natural jokers and storytellers, please ask them to join the directory because we need them. Death is to be celebrated. There was a time when we celebrated the transition because this was a leveling up. This was like the next step. We didn't grieve, we didn't mourn in the way that we have been programmed to do so now. Death is to be celebrated just as much as life. And it is only once somebody passes away that we can look back on that life and say, my gosh, look what they've done. Look who they created. Look who they've touched. When we have our funerals, they're often such massive affairs. because we have lived. So let us celebrate that life. We also have on our directory, those live streamers. We have live streamers up and down the country. Get in contact with them. They're there. I'm not charging you for going on to the FACFO website and finding our brothers and sisters who are providing the service. You know, I was often told, oh, you're going to have to do it like Tesco, so that they come through you and then you take the money and then you give it to the people that are providing the service. I'm not doing that. I'm not going to be the middle person. The middle platform is the FACFO website, and it only exists. It will only continue. It will only grow if the community is actively involved in using it, in adding to it and taking from it. You know, it's not about the money. It's about the work, and the work has to be done on a soul level, individually, and on a macro level, which means that we keep our pounds black and we grow together as a people. Am I saying anything wrong? If I am, if you disagree with what I'm saying, please let me know. But the dominant cultures have got their ish together. So it's time that we get ours together too, which means that we also need our lawyers and our will writers, those who deal with probate, those who can help us when that time comes to figure out where the money is, what we're going to do with the money, and who gets the money. Because money is often that thing that really messes up the soup. The amount of families that disintegrate over the subject of money is not funny. You know, there are so many people that I have worked with who have said, I just didn't recognize my brother or sister when mum or dad died. It was like a completely different person. And we weren't raised like this. We were raised to be a family. And then them Ghana Dotty. It happens. It happens to the closest and best of families. So, where are the lawyers that are in our community, from our community, who are doing the work? Where are the will writers, those who are offering those services and helping us to get our lives in order before that time comes? We need you. We need you. Please join the FACFO directory. Okay, so on that note of, you know, keeping things in order, coming together, I am really proud to say that we have plans in place to run apprenticeships for our youths so that they can come into the industry from a young age. Yeah, this is an industry that will never die. How ironic. It's recession proof. And as long as there are people on earth, there's going to be death. Okay. Now, do you know what? I'm going to scratch that. Rewind. I'm going to give you a nugget. There will be a time when there is no more death. And it's something that we will talk about in the coming weeks, days, months, years. But we're not going to go into it today. But I am saying to you, hand on heart, okay? There will be a time when the worlds that we live in will come together and duality will be no more. And at that point, there will be no death. This is deep. I've got real information to be sharing with you. And so I will be doing so on this show every Monday, 2 till 4 for the foreseeable future. And then 8 till 10 on a Monday evening, what do? My reggae radio show on Passion Radio Live. That's Passion Radio UK. And we are coming to you online. When it comes to this show, I will be streaming it, or rather playing it back on Facebook, on YouTube, And you'll be able to find it on LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, and any other social media outlet that I can. Yeah, I can't really get with Twitter. Twitter for me, I know it's a big platform. I know like everybody's up in arms over it and everything. I just, from the time when Solange shaved her hair off back in, I don't know, 10, 20, I've been up in Yorkshire 10 years. So it was probably about 15 years ago. The abuse that she got on that platform, the abuse. I was like, I can't be dealing with it. So Twitter is questionable. But as I've said, I need help. So if there's anybody else out there who can do my Twitter for me, then I'll be more than grateful. And yeah, there'll be money in it for you. Right, moving on. Our florists, where are you? We need you in the directory. Where are our black florists? If you know a black florist, please send them my way, facfo.org. Grave maintenance. We have a beautiful sister in London who has a grave maintenance service. She does. And the reason why she created that service was because her father passed away. And when she was going to tend to his grave, she was sorting out the graves of her other family members too. And then other people at the cemetery would say to her, "Is this your job? Is this what you do?" And she was like, "No, actually, I think she's like a BBC radio presenter. She's a personality." But she realized that actually this is a service. Not everybody can get to the cemetery to tend to the graves of their loved ones. And so she is doing that. Now, if you want to get acquainted with more of the people in the directory, what you can do is go onto the FACFO website and look at the category that says FACFO TV, because I have been interviewing people that are within the directory. And in the coming days, weeks, and months to come, I will be interviewing them at this time on this show so that we can all get to know more about those who are close to us who are providing the service. Okay, so those who are doing orders of service, once again, those, the little booklets that there never seem to be enough of when somebody dies. We get to the church or we get to the crematorium and it's like, have you got a program? Have you got an order of service? Have you got the little booklet? No, those are keepsakes. And it's like, I've got a growing list of those booklets, the orders of service from all the funerals that I've done. I keep them. I know somebody who does orders of service. He's got stacks of them because he's been doing them for years. Please, if you do them, if you are a creative, please join the directory. I have a cousin who does orders of service, and her templates sell to the American public, and memorabilia. Is it memorabilia? Merchandise, cups, towels, pens, paper orderers, paper things, bookmarks. We can have so many different streams of income within our community that caters to the people that need it the most. And yes, death is universal. So our customers are also universal. I am offering you a chance to get more cash in your pocket and to come together as communities who provide services for those in need. So, as we move on, I think I was down here saying that we will be providing apprenticeships. There is a burial society that is coming together that will help to support families who do not have the finances to actually bury their loved one. We're not talking fancy horse and cart and, big American sized caskets, but we're saying that we will be able to provide the finances to help towards your costs as long as you work with the people within the directory. Okay, so we are coming to the top of the hour. The show is nearly finished. I just want to remind you that facfo.org is there for you. I am Laura D.P.ism. I am the founder, and I am here I am of service. I am not hiding anymore. The work is done, the courses are available, and everything is in place. All you need to do is step forward and offer your service or receive the service that's being offered. I want to thank you all for joining me today. It's been special. It really has been so special for me. Thank you so much. And I'm going to play out the rest of the show with some music. Here we go. You can find me later on, 8 till 10, doing the reggae radio show on Passion Radio. But for now, I'm going to play out with Romeo by Basement Jacks, and then I'll see if I can fit in another garage tune as well.